hearts. Bravely we prove in our striving, trudging together each day. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Daily Trudge. Zassen Sie Daily Trudge. Yep. If you haven't figured out trudging together, I mean, it's all over the screen. My shirt, Club Trudge. I think I've worn out this word. I think I have worn out the trudge word. Ah. You know, if I took off every time the rough got a little going, none of this would be here. That's just what I'm just gonna stick that in there real quick. Hi, Michelle. I had a feeling you'd be interested in this one. I just know that you have a lot of questions on sponsorship and stuff, or you've been curious about it in the past anyway. All right. So, but I thought this was an interesting topic. I actually kind of stole it from someone else. My friend Monty Man. You should check out his stuff. It's called Take 12 Radio. He's a really cool guy. They cover some pretty cool stuff, I think. I don't always agree with it, but I think it's cool that they got the guts to do it. Yeah, that I can appreciate. Not just because I don't agree doesn't mean that it isn't fact for them, right? Yeah. And his topic was sponsoring old timers. I'm like, wow, I want to be on that show. So, and that is something that I'm gonna kind of do. You know, I haven't really been working on my podcast much lately, but what I'm gonna do is start going on other podcasts and telling my story, things like that. I'm gonna reach out to some people and because I want to reach more people. That doesn't mean this will stop, though. It does not. So let's talk a little bit about sponsorship. I've had several sponsors. I don't know. I probably had maybe 10. And even right now, I do have a sponsor, but they're really only a sponsor. And then in the fact that I felt like I was required to have a sponsor, but I would have to say they're more of a close friend than they are a sponsor. And honestly, I'd rather have them as a close friend than a sponsor. I love the dude. I've just known him for a long time, and you know, so I have a sponsor in the fact that I say I have a sponsor, but we haven't really met. We haven't done much. I mean, what is there for him to cover with me? All right, you know, I'd rather keep friends. But I'd say out of the 10 sponsors I've had, 2 of them did something. All right. And that isn't on my current sponsor. That's on me, by the way. Because I'm not no way I'm going to put him down. He's a cool motherfucker. But, yeah, so I thought I would talk about this a little bit, my experience. I thought this was a very good question. Welcome to the Daily Trudge. My name is Dion. Yo, if you're here, please say hello, whether you're watching the live or the rewatch. Lots of rewatching. Just got out of therapy. It's Thursday. It's Tuesday. I almost said it's Thursday. My dyslexia is still in prime mode. That just makes conversations a little bit more interesting. I was talking to her about what was going on because I've been getting all these feelings, and what it comes down to is I'm burnt out. And she's like, "You're in burnout. That's what's going on with you." Right. So I'm going to be keeping this stuff Daily Trudge podcast. I like doing stuff like that. The meeting, of course. But I don't think I'm going to do much beyond that. I think I'm going to drop the CPC committee I was in, the IS committee that I was on, the central office delegate meeting, which is tonight. I'm not going to do that anymore either. I'm not going to help out Adams County. I'm not going to help out Aurora Mental Health. I'm not going to work on the new detox. I'm not going to keep creating 12-step work. I'm stopping it. And I got to do that for me. All right. I'm going to do that for me. I'm tired of having to cut through red tape just to help somebody. And if these places want to continue using nefarious resources, that's their fucking business. They can settle it with God. Yeah. So I'm going to do what I can. But yeah, even in the meetings, I'm going to be doing minimal work. But the problem is a lot of people aren't signing up, stuff. I don't know. It's not for me to decide. That's right. People, you're in charge of your own recovery and what you need to do for your recovery. Even if it means that you're angry with me, I'm still going to support you because you're going to do what you need to do for your recovery. And that might look different than what we're doing. Nothing wrong with that. That's why a lot of people come and go here. They got what they needed from me and then they kind of move on. Good stuff. That, you're not going to. I'm not the kind of person you're going to come listen to for years and years. Well, maybe. I don't know. I've had some people that have been listening to me for years. A couple of people that have been listening to me for all 7. Not very many, though. It's all right. So do we need a sponsor forever? I'm going to give you the quick answer. Up to you. That's the quick answer. No, you don't always need a sponsor. What is a sponsor, right? A sponsor is a person that guides you through the 12 steps. That's it. So once you're done with the 12 steps, they're not even your sponsor anymore. They should turn into what's called a closed mouth friend. My first sponsor was Ray Hayworth. He and I were never friends. Respect, and to this day, I still respect the man, what he did for me. Great guy. I'll be forever in his debt. Okay. Second sponsor that I had that took me through the steps. His name's Paul. We did not become friends either. He never invited me to his house. We never went out to coffee. We didn't do any of that. But I will be forever indebted to that man. Once a year, I still send him a text. Tell him what I'm doing. I can't wait to text him next year when I'm an old timer. Right? And I do that out of respect. Hey, I'm still out here doing what you taught me to do. Thank you for taking your time. So that way he can go through his day going, yeah, I helped that Dion out guy 10 years ago and he's still fucking going. That's so cool. But why would you continue needing a sponsor? That'd be the question. Maybe you want to work through the steps again. Legitimate. Absolutely. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't continue having a sponsor. If that's what you need and that's what works best for you and you need it, fucking do it. Do it. Yeah. So here was my experience. I had about 5 years of sobriety and, I kind of wanted a sponsor in my life. And so I started asking around. I didn't ask anything short of 15 people. No, was the answer. You wouldn't believe some of the answers I heard. Well, I only do face to face. Oh, so who's unwilling here? This was the one that really got me. Why would you need me to sponsor you? You're the guru. It hurt. That actually hurt me. Because that was not a compliment in my book. That is not what I heard. I got tired of asking. I'm very outspoken. I don't know this program. Well, I do know this program forward and backward. I do. But that doesn't mean I know everything. But I know a lot. And that puts me in a little bit of a predicament. Because I don't know too many people that know as much about this as I do. And I'm not saying that to fucking brag. I am not. It's just I've done this for a very long time. I had some great teachers. Okay. Number one, sponsorship's never even mentioned in the big book. It is called Closed Mouth Friend. It is mentioned a couple times in the 12 by 12. Okay. Where somebody takes you through the steps. But this is how I was taught. I was taught that once I went through the steps, if I wanted to go through the steps again, I was to get a sponsee and take them through the steps. And so I go through the steps 2 to 3 times a year now. Yeah. I do the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and every time I learn something more. Every time I learn a little bit more about the program. For me, at least, I have found that the best way to learn this program is to teach it, because then I'm going to have to go get the knowledge. And I'm certain I am not scared to ask questions. I don't care if you think I'm stupid or not. I'm going to ask the question. I need the answer. Thankfully in AA, people are pretty open-minded about answering questions, right? Because there are no stupid questions in AA, just silly answers. Yeah. And it's already embarrassing enough. Hello again, Edda. Good to see you. Twice in one day. How'd I get so lucky? Both of you, huh? Now I just need Amber. We'll have the trifecta. All right. Not everybody even stays in AA for their whole life. Of course, for me, that would be kind of dangerous. There are a few people that come to mind, but I don't know how they're doing now, so I don't know if that's necessarily a wise decision. Okay? But sometimes, and like I said, it's going to vary for everybody. I can only really cover my experience. Michelle says, my sponsor thinks I should call her more. Okay. I'm struggling with this because I don't have problems so far that I need to ask about. Maybe for her, it's the consistency. I don't know. But why don't you ask? That's probably what I would do. Why do you need me to call you this much? I don't feel like I need to call you that much. There's nothing going on. And then they can come back with their answer. Maybe it's just they like talking to you each day. Who knows what the actual answer to that is, So don't be afraid to ask. So don't work until late. Heather says, don't work until later and not sleeping or trying to. Okay. Well, I tell you, we miss you at the 5 o'clock, but Heather, I got to tell you, I'm glad to hear from you because this mind wanders. I was wondering where you were. Oh my gosh, I hope Heather's okay. All right. Thinking that somebody went back to drinking isn't something that pops into my mind first, but we can emotionally relapse if we leave AA. But I also knew that you had another group that you went to consistently. See, I knew that about you because I listened. All right. So some people are going to want that, there are some people where they get a sponsor, and this is the part I don't quite understand. But then again, it's up to you and how you do it. See, when I sponsor somebody and we're done with the traditions, I got to go grab another person. Some people hold on to that sponsee until they die. I do not work that way. I will be a forever person. You can continue to call me. You can continue to ask me questions, anything else, but those questions are probably going to have more to do with, Deon, I'm working with this sponsor or this sponsee, and this is kind of going on. What would you do in this situation? And those are more the conversations I have with sponsees once they finish it. But I teach them I teach them how to sponsor. I teach them how. All the underlining in the book and everything. And they get a little, I was too. I was a little leery the first time I sponsored, but I've also worked with a lot of people as a counselor or as a peer support or other things in this world. I was a camp counselor for a place called Anywhere, Colorado. It was a 2-week camp for underprivileged youth. Had some good times there. I remember the second year I was a counselor, and I got a group of guys, and man, they were rough. These were rough kids, man. Grew up in a rough neighborhood, but what they didn't understand about this white dude is I grew up in the same damn neighborhood from 14 on. Right, and they were trying to push it with, when it comes to guys, there always needs to be some kind of pecking order. I'm like, let's go for a hike. We're gonna go for a hike. You guys ever been on a hike before in the mountain? No, well, we haven't. Okay, well, we're gonna go through the course here. And they kept they were like, well, no, I'm the leader of this group, and I'm the leader of this group, and yeah, but I have I'm an OG, and I'm like, you guys really don't know. You guys aren't who you think you are. Like, so this is what we're gonna do. You're all in good shape. Whoever can climb this rope the quickest is running this group. Is that fair? Can we do that? And I kicked all their asses. They're like, that one boy can climb. So fucking funny. Right. And we had a good 2 weeks too. We did. Great. I miss those days, man. When recovery was being done the right way and there wasn't all this bullshit that came with it. Maybe I just wasn't aware of it yet, right? Heather says, appreciate you thinking of me. I participate in at least one meeting a day. Okay, awesome. Awesome. I kind of figured, but I also don't, I can tell you this. I didn't think that you were out, hanging out with John Barleycorn again or anything. That I didn't think. We just miss you at the meetings. So, and we miss you too. But you're doing what you need to do. And I understand because you're kind of in a situation where your time isn't really determined by you at the moment. So it's determined by what's available when. I understand that. All right. So there's some people who stick with their sponsor forever. For me, I tend to move on, but my life's always kind of been like that. It doesn't mean that I'm not friends with them or anything like that, but my life is mostly full of closed mouth friends. I have different people that I talk to about different things. There are some things that I don't bring up here because I'm just not sure if you'd understand. I'd have to do a lot. You could understand, but I'd have to do a lot of explaining, and I don't like doing that. That's why I really enjoy therapy, because I'm talking to a therapist who understands what I'm talking about with counseling and doing certain things in that area. Excuse me, I apologize. How wooed, as Jar Jar would say. How wooed. It's so cute when my youngest granddaughter does that one. How wooed. Oh, right. Right. So, but there is no set thing, is kind of what I'm getting to. For me, I felt a lot of pressure at that 5-6 year mark because people are like, who's your sponsor? I'm like, I don't have one. Well, you're supposed to have a sponsor. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, no, I don't. Nowhere in the big book does it say I'm required to have a sponsor for the rest of my life. What it says is that I need a guide to take me through the 12 steps. That's what it was. Well, we did that. What else should we be doing? Because when my sponsor finished with me with the steps and the traditions, after that, he said, good luck. I'm going to find my next sponsee. He's just not the kind of guy that hangs out all the time. But he's darn serious about this program. He is. I love that man. And like I said earlier, I will be indebted him to for the rest of my life, man. I hope he has a great life. He was a great sponsor. I can only wish to be as good of a sponsor as he was. Same with my first sponsor, Ray. I can only hope to be half the man that he was. And he was 4'9". Actually, he was taller than that. That's my first wife was 4'9". I think he was closer to 5'2". But for a man, that might as well be 4'9". Right? So, but I thought this was a good topic. I don't know that there's much more to cover on it. I don't know that there's. I think we can all agree on this, that a sponsor is a guide through the 12 steps. Which, see, now I'm just repeating myself. So, but I think we can all agree on that. How long the relationship lasts? Do you need a sponsor for the rest of your life? No, you don't. If you want to, nowhere in there says that you can't either. All right. But when you get past a certain point, most people, especially if you do this program thoroughly, like you're told, most people will just think you don't need help anymore. And that is the furthest thing from the truth. I'm an arm length away from the next drink just as much as anybody else. I'm no better than, no less than. Okay? I'm not, am I something special in my own mind? Yes. But other than that, no, I'm not. Right? People sponsor different ways. Then there's nothing wrong with that. The only requirement is the rarely we've seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Well, there's innumerable paths that work. Sometimes it's explained. And I think this is done spiritually too. That's why I believe in picking my sponsees, because my intuition tells me who to pick. And I usually know. There's sometimes I even take people on hoping I'm wrong, but I never really seem to be on that. It's just an intuition, right? Because I'm not going to try and determine somebody else's willingness. What I determine is whether it's worth, if it is it worth my time, is my time worthy of it? Kind of what it comes down to. But that usually ends up being, well, they didn't show up for 2 weeks at the agreed time, and now they're not answering me. There's my sign, right? You usually have signs, right? Sign. See, Heather, you haven't been around, so I haven't been singing. Darn it. I've been singing, but it hasn't been as much fun. What's going on, buddy? Are you is the last 2 days you have been really, really needy, huh? Are you scared we're not going to love you anymore? Huh? We found him on the street when he was about a year old. I think he was just about a year. Somebody had already gotten him and snipped him though, area. But he didn't have a chip in him or nothing, so it was done by the state, most likely. And I think sometimes he is scared that he might have to go back outside and be alone. And yeah, don't worry, buddy. Don't worry. I'm not going to get rid of you today. All right. Cats are good at picking up emotions. They know when you're being a shithead with them. Like if you put down your cat and you're sarcastic and shit with them, they know. This guy right here, he's a very sensitive boy. Yes, he is. Like his daddy, he's very sensitive. Yeah. Sometimes you just need to know that it's okay. Yeah, I've got your back. And don't worry, if you're homeless, that means I'm homeless too. So we'll be homeless together. Should we do some reading from I think working with others would be appropriate for this one. So let's just go to working with others and we'll read a little bit to fill up some more time because some other people have shown up and I want them to be able to get something out of it too. So that and I don't have much, I have stuff going on, but I'd rather do this. All right, let's go to page 96 if you'd like to follow along. Yes. Do not be discouraged if your prospect does not respond at once. Search out another alcoholic and try again. You are sure to find someone desperate enough to accept with eagerness what you offer. We find it a waste of time to keep chasing a man who cannot or will not work with you. If you leave such a person alone, he may soon become convinced that he cannot recover by himself. To spend too much time on any opportunity to live and be happy. One of our fellowship failed entirely with his first half dozen prospects. He often says that if he had continued to work with them, he might have deprived many others who have since recovered. And that's kind of where it is. Okay. That if this person is not willing, then there's probably somebody out there that is willing to work with us, and we need to give them an opportunity. I kind of do this with treatment. There's been times in the past where somebody, I have a client and they're like, I need to go to treatment. And I'll ask them, how many times you been to treatment? 3? No. You don't need treatment again. You've been to treatment. You just haven't applied. You haven't applied what you've learned from treatment yet, but you know it. But you already been 3 times. What about the person who's never had a chance to go to treatment? You're going to fill up their bed because you want to be selfish? No, I will not support that. Right. Of course, that's personal, but it's a professional opinion, and it's correct. It's actually in the DSM. Heather said that's where my brain went as well. Signs everywhere. Sign. Do this. Don't do that. Can't you read the sign? Can't you read the damn sign? You long-haired freaky people. You need not apply. I tucked my hat up under my head. I went in to ask him why. He said, well, you look like an outstanding young gentleman to me. So I took off my hat and I said, imagine that. Me working for you. All right. I just turned it into spoken word. And I think I was off on some of the lines, but that's okay. I was just trying to have fun. So suppose now you're making your second visit to a man. He has read this volume and says he's prepared to go with the 12 steps of the program of recovery. Having had the experience yourself, you can give him much practical advice. Let him know that you are available if he wishes to make a decision and tell his story, but do not insist upon it if he prefers to consult someone else. There's been a lot of times where I have 12 steps somebody. And I can tell you this. I don't think I've ever had a sponsee out of 12 stepping someone. That hasn't happened. We usually end up taking them to detox. And from there, we would pick them up, take them to a meeting, but I didn't end up being their sponsor. That's okay. That wasn't what the 12 step call was for. No. But that is how we used to find sponsees. Right? Or maybe there's also been times when I sponsored somebody and I wasn't the right fit. So I helped them find another sponsor. Well, I need, and I tell my sponsees at the beginning, hey, if this is not working for you, this is your recovery, man. Let me know. I'm not going to get mad at you if you would prefer to work with somebody else. I will even help you look for that person if you want. So what? What does that mean? That means that I did the best that I could with what I had to work with. That's all that means. And I want them to have the same great chance that I did. And if that means that person over there is going to be able to help them more than me, Great. Then I go do it again. So he may be broken homeless. If he is, you might try to help him about getting a job or give him a little financial assistance. Yeah, that doesn't happen very often now, but it does still happen in more of the rural areas. I've always had a hard time with that word. Rural, 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 rastro. But you should not deprive your family or creditors of money they should have. Yeah, I was just talking to my therapist about this a little bit. Oh, this is so funny. This is kind of funny. Okay. And I was talking to her about, because I have codependency issues. I do. All right. Even last week, But anyway, then I was talking about a lot of the stuff that I was doing. We were talking about because she's like, Dion, you're displaying all the signs of burnout. Yeah, and she's not wrong. Right. But we were talking about that portion. And I was telling her about how somebody had said they were going to chair a meeting, but then they just said they weren't really up for it. And I took it over. And she said, what you need to start doing is you kind of need to hold them accountable, and they either need to chair that meeting or find somebody to do it for them. But, what you were doing wasn't really quite right, don't you think? And I said, oh, thanks for just clarifying I have codependency issues. Thanks for that. See, it's funny, isn't it? I think it's funny. All right. Perhaps you will want to take the man into your home for a few days. A few days it should never be more than 2 or 3 days. Maybe to try and help them detox. That's why it's in there. Okay. Maybe you have an extra room. Maybe you're going to put them to work out in your yard to kind of help out around the house. Maybe it might be longer now. Who knows? Who knows? As long as you're not trying to do them a disservice. And that means, oh, you're living in my house now, and then you're going to start telling them what they are required to do. Now we're on a different footing. I'm never more than somebody else. Doesn't work that way. I may know some other things, and I base things off of that, but that has nothing to do with you. All right? All right. Be certain he is welcomed by your family and that he is not trying to impose upon you for money, connections, or shelter. Permit that, and you will only harm him. You'll be making it possible for him to be insincere. You may be adding in his destruction rather than his recovery. All right. I was just talking to my therapist a little bit. One of the things with Adams County that I'm not liking is, they've been looking for a location for a year and a half and they haven't found one. And it's because of all these stupid fucking rules that they put in it. And they did it themselves. And what they're trying to do is bubble wrap these people. Right? I'm just making a number up here because I'm not sure what it is. But it is one of the rules. The detox is not allowed to be within a certain length of a liquor store. Well, you just took away 80% of your places. See, we can't bubble wrap people. We can't. Or it's not going. See, they don't understand that. So the rules that they set up so they could try and do things what they think is the right way is actually harming them. And that is codependency. Anything that protects the alcoholic from seeing alcohol is doomed to fail. Okay? Because they're not quite thinking, are they? They're not quite thinking. That means it can't be within that same distance. That means it can't be in the same distance of a gas station. They also sell alcohol. 7-Eleven, the grocery store, all those things are now off the table. It's codependency. And I guarantee, because none of these people are alcoholic, but what it tells me is they came from a dysfunctional family. It's why they do what they do. And they have codependency problems. And it's clearly starting to show through on this process. Which tells me I know exactly why they're not considering what I'm saying and everything. Because I'm an alcoholic and therefore they're comparing me to whoever they raised them that was alcoholic. I'm not wrong on that. All right, we're going to do one more paragraph. Never avoid these responsibilities, but be sure you are doing the right thing if you assume them. Helping others is the very foundation stone of your recovery. A kindly act once in a while isn't enough. You may have to act the Good Samaritan in every day, if need be. It's not easy to do. You know me and my example, quick example. I went to go pick up my meds, which I should have picked up last week when I knew for sure that I had Medicaid, but I did not. I went to go pick them up. They're like, that'll be $40. I don't have $40 for it right now. I don't. It's my ADHD med. It's not imperative. Was I frustrated? Yes. Does that mean I'm allowed to take it out on the person behind the counter? No. No. I just told them, you know, I thought my Medicaid was valid because they said it was going to be and stuff. But clearly it wasn't. They said, we will hold on to the script for you. Why don't you give it 2-3 days? And he even went further. He's like, do you have the phone number to your local office? I can get it for you. I'm like, yeah, I do have it. So see, now if I would have been a dick, do you think he would have been nice and said, hey, I'm willing to help you. Told him to have a good day, put a fucking smile on my face, and I walked out of there. Called the wife. Did I get on her about it? No, it isn't. No. See, I should have picked up my meds last week, right? So we've got to take responsibility for that. We have to be the Good Samaritan. And that means having a good attitude with the people that we meet when we go outside of our homes and outside of our meetings. All right? Show a little bit of fucking respect. I think it's weird because all over social media, it's like, oh man, everything's blowing up out there and everybody, and if this guy's a jerk and that's a jerk, and look at this Karen, and look how this person's blowing up over a little thing. And I go out there, I don't see it. I don't see it. It may mean the loss of many nights' sleep, great interference with your pleasures. That's the one that gets me. That was the hard one for me. The interference with my time. That was a hard one. Still a tough one, but I'm better at it now. Not the best. I'm sure I could find somebody much better at it than me. But heck, I can't be perfect in every way or I'd never be able to make progress, right? So it may mean sharing your money and your home, counseling frantic wives and relatives, innumerable trips to police courts, sanitariums, hospitals, jails, and asylums. Your telephone may jangle at any time of day or night. Your wife may sometimes say she is neglected. A drunk may smash your furniture in your home or burn your mattress. You may have to fight with him if he is violent. Sometimes you will have to call a doctor and administer sedatives under his direction. Another time, you may have to send for the police or an ambulance. Occasionally, you will have to meet such conditions. This doesn't happen as much now. Hey, Amber, and now you show up. 40 minutes. I'm going to do 2 more paragraphs because you showed up, though. Maybe 3. And hi, friend. It's good to see you. We seldom allow an alcoholic to live in our homes for a long time. It is not good for him and sometimes creates serious complications in the family. I don't need other people depending on me for that. I'm a human being and I'm fallible. Not only that, but that codependency is so easy to slip into, man. Because I know it. I know how it feels. Just last week, I was talking to somebody and they asked me to blow into their breathalyzer for them. And it took every ounce of my willpower to say no, because I wanted to help save them, because I know what it feels like. I had to dig deep. And when we left, the person with me said, I am glad that you answered that because I would have done it. And I said, I know exactly how you feel. I wanted to too. I don't know where God gave me the strength, but he did. It is hard for me to say no when it comes to those things because I know how they feel. And if it means doing something even a little illegal to help them get sober, I'm kind of willing to do it. It's tough, man. All right. Though an alcoholic does not respond, there is no reason why you should neglect his family. You should continue to be friendly to them. The family should be offered your way of life. Should they accept and practice spiritual principles, there is a much better chance the head of the family will recover. That I would agree with. And even though he continues to drink, the family will find life more bearable. For the alcoholic who is able and willing to get well, little charity in the ordinary sense of the word is needed or wanted. The men who cry out for money and shelter before conquering alcohol are on the wrong track. Yet we do go to great extremes to provide each other with these very things when such action is warranted. This may seem inconsistent, but we think it is not. Yeah. All right. We're at a really good part. So fuck it. We're just going to do 2 more paragraphs. Because then it gets into the domestic problem and changes the whole topic. So we'll do these ones. But there's some good information here. It is not a matter of giving that is in question, but when and how to give. And you will learn that. You'll learn it. You're going to kind of know yourself. Listen, if anything, listen to your intuition on this one. I often ask God for the right words. God, I need the right words. I need your help on this. Can you help me? Can you help me get through this? Can you help me help this person if they're willing? I don't know. All right. The minute we put our work on a service plane, the alcoholic commences to rely on our assistance rather than upon God. That's what I was kind of talking about earlier. I don't need them depending on me. I need them depending upon their higher power. And if I do a disservice by putting a roof over their head, I'm going to go a different tact here in a minute, just so you know. He clamors for this or that, claiming he cannot master alcohol until his material needs are cared for. Nonsense. Some of us have taken very hard knocks to learn this truth. Job or no job, wife or no wife, we simply do not stop drinking so long as we place dependence upon other people ahead of dependence on God. And that's one. Burn the idea into the consciousness of every man that he can get well regardless of anyone. The only condition is that he trust in God and clean house. I know a lot of people living on the streets that are sober. Not as much now as I used to. First time I got sober, I was in a halfway house for homeless alcoholics. I saw them all the time. Not as much now because I'm not there, right? But I've known countless people who were living on the streets that were homeless, that are sober. One of them sitting in this group right now, right? But I'm taking an opposite tact on this. When you have somebody who is homeless and has alcoholism and they're willing, so there's some qualifications there. If I put a roof over their head, their chances of staying sober, getting and staying sober, go up by 30%. If I can do that, I'm going to. I'm a housing first person. I don't believe that just because you have a mental illness, you do not deserve a roof over your head. I don't believe that. So, all right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Of course, that last part's opinion. You can think how you want to think. Just been my experience. I've been homeless before, too, so I'd have to say I'm a little biased on the topic. All right. I'm wrong about a lot of things. Fine with me, man. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I appreciate it. Amber, I'm glad you'd show up. All right. I'll make sure I do tomorrow at 11 so I don't throw off your day. All right. Thank you, everybody. I love you. You know I do. Peace out and have a day.